Hi everyone, my name is Sravanti Uppaluri. I am faculty member at Azim Premji University. I teach biology in the undergraduate program. We're here today to talk about the role of illustrations in biology and actually the role of illustrations in biology textbooks. Recently, the biology faculty, a subgroup of us at Azim Premji University, has written and produced a textbook called iThink Biology. It's a textbook that is meant for first year undergraduate students of biology. But it's sort of uniquely positioned because the idea is to focus on capacity or skill building rather than being a very content heavy textbook. And it also takes a very holistic view of biology as a discipline. So rather than splitting it up into, say, zoology, botany, that are more, things that are more traditionally done in the Indian context, we have really merged biology together and given it a kind of holistic perspective. So, in the process of writing this book, what we realized was that illustrations, actually visually appealing illustrations, are really important to draw a reader in, whether it's a student or even an instructor. You know, an instructor has to use resources that are appealing to students and that will draw a student in. And so we realized very early on that we wanted really nice illustrations for the textbook. And one of the things that we were very excited about was to involve our own students in the process of illustrating this. And we have with us two of our alumni actually who participated in this process. So both Aranya and Neeharika, who are here with us today, are undergraduate students who've passed out in 2020 and now have gone on to do higher studies. And they participated in the illustration process, specifically in the chapter banners. They were really an essential part of the process of writing the book, actually, and provided a lot of inspiration for us as we were writing the book. So maybe I can just take maybe Aranya, you can start and just take a minute to introduce yourself, and then we'll also ask Neeharika to do that. Just to tell us what you're doing now and how you got to where you are after you left Azim Premji University.
Hi, I'm Aranya, and I'm currently studying in Belgium, and I'm doing my master's in tropical biodiversity and ecosystems, and it's an Erasmus Mundus master's. So I basically move every semester, which has been really cool for me because I've gotten to not only study biology and ecology and things that I'm really interested, but do that in different settings all over the world. So
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Aranya. Yeah. Neeharika, you want to?
Hi everyone, my name is Neeharika, and I am currently studying in the US, and I'm doing a master's in science at the University of Massachusetts. And I got to do a couple of research cruises in the North Pacific, and that's
Research cruises.
yeah,
Is that
research
what you said?
cruises.
Yeah.
So I got to go on a ship for about a month, and I continued doing my illustrations on the ship, kind of chronicled my journey. And I've
Yeah.
done that from EPU.
So, Niharika, since we have you on the screen, maybe you can tell us a bit about how and whether you think that art and so I would say that both of you are not just illustrators; you're artists in your own right, from what I've seen of your work. So, Niharika, would you say that uh, art and illustrations have played a role in your decision to study biology at all?
Yeah, I think it's. I just read something yesterday, and they were talking about how nature is beautiful, and I think to put it into pictures is just a great way to showcase that.
Yeah.
And so putting it through illustrations and just art in general,
Yeah.
get people excited about biology in general.
Yeah, and you yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, what about you, Niharika? Do you think that art has been part of your decision to study biology?
Oh, you mean Aranya?
Sorry, Aranya. Yeah. Has art been a part of your decision to study biology?
So for me, actually, like after my 10th board exams, it was a really difficult choice to choose between science or arts. And like I thought about it for a while and finally decided upon biology because it was one of the sciences that was also very close to art for me.
Mhm.
And this whole illustrating for the textbook has been such a great opportunity for me because I was finally able to bring the artistic side that I was always interested in together with the scientific side that I'm now involved in. So I really enjoyed
Oh,
that.
that's nice. Um, so just before we go on, and we've sort of been using the words art and illustrations interchangeably, but do you think there's a difference between the two? And yeah, I have a follow-up question. Niharika, what do you think? There's a difference between art and illustrations?
I don't have a technical.
No,
Um,
I mean just from your
I
own
think
instinct, your intuition, I guess.
I guess maybe illustrations are more directed. So you're doing them for some kind of purpose. So in this case, we're
Yeah,
using it to illustrate biology.
yeah,
But art, I think, can be more, abstract. There's so many different kinds of art. So
yeah,
maybe that's more free. You're more free to do what you want, but
yeah.
illustrations are more for a purpose.
Right. So in some aspect, I guess illustrations are also about being scientifically accurate, right?
Yeah.
And so I think maybe what you both have done for the book is it art or illustration? And yeah, so Aranya, what do you think?
I think it it's a really nice combination of the two because every time I'd start with a chapter banner, I'd start it off kind of as art, but then I'd have these discussions with Anjali and we'd decide on, okay, but we need to have more of this idea that's in the chapter that's not really being
Yeah.
showcased in your art and
Could,
portraying something that needs to be portrayed. Yeah.
could you use a specific example, like one of the banners that you worked on for the one of the chapter headings, and we could or banners?
Mhm. So
So
I think the
if you think of
malaria
one,
one,
yeah. Huh?
yeah, was because I wouldn't normally like draw a mosquito or a microscope or things or just cells and things like that. But it was interesting to like see that this is what we needed and then
Right. And
illust-
did you have to do any kind of research before you could illustrate it? Like have to actually look up the form of the mosquito to make sure it's
yeah, for sure. And also like what the plasmodium exactly looks like. It can't just be like a random cell and things
Mhm.
like that. Yeah.
Okay, nice. What about you, Niharika? Did you do any research for your?
Yeah, I think the one that I really enjoyed researching was the ficuses and ticks chapter because the biology of it is so interesting. And then I had to look up what a parasitic wasp versus a regular wasp and how they insert the eggs into the fig.
Yeah,
So yeah, that was also interesting to draw because I don't want to do the wrong wasp for the wrong process.
right. Okay, so um, and wasps are not your favorite things in the world, are they?
No, I don't mind wasps.
You don't like wasps. Okay, just checking. Um, so maybe I can ask you also when you were asked to participate in illustrating, um, the chapter headers or the banners as we call them for the book. Uh, what was your reaction, and what did you think what kind of experience did you think it would be, and what did it end up being? Also, I should tell our viewers that both of you were in the thick of things in your masters in your graduate studies, and then you're simultaneously doing this work for us. So you can also share a little bit about what that was like. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, I can
yeah.
go
Go ahead.
first. All right. So I guess it was actually a really nice, I'd say relief maybe,
Mhm.
because it was like the beginning slash middle of the pandemic. And so it was really nice to have, like, I know I normally do illustrate or do art, but this was a nice way to keep it like going instead of just kind of getting um, sidetracking it and doing other things. So yes, this was a nice way to kind of incorporate it into the whole lockdown, I guess.
Yeah. And was the process what you thought it would be? Like, was it, we had many back and forths. I think
Yeah,
Aranya, you went through a lot with the malaria banner, because also, I mean, it wasn't that we ourselves knew what we were expecting, right? We went through several rounds. We thought that, the banner would be a certain shape, and it ended up being a different shape, and so you had to, yeah, I don't know. What was that process like for you?
Yeah, so I guess I started off thinking that it would be like I would get instructions and then I would have to do something. But I realized that it was like a really nice learning process for like both sides. And I would start by doing something and then I would send it and we'd have a discussion about how maybe we need to add something else. And then we'd also have to talk to the publishers. So it was
Yeah.
interesting to see how like so many different opinions kind of came together.
Can we talk about the fungi chapter, that banner, right? There are so many different species there. How did you decide on what you wanted to include?
So I've just always loved looking at fungi. So when I
That's not a
when
statement
I
many
realized I
people
could
would
be
make.
able to, sorry.
That's not a statement many people would make, but yeah, you're a true biodiversity specialist, if you can say that. Yeah. Sorry, go
And
ahead. Yeah.
there's just so many cool types. So I was just Googling like fungi species in India, beautiful things like that. And I guess I shortlisted one, but some of them look really similar, but they're all beautiful. So then I had to select like ones that were different colors that would kind of look
Yeah.
good together.
Right, right, right. Um, and what did you feel about having to, because I think biology is really based on content and case studies that are related, to India. So it's all based on Indian science, it's based on Indian landscapes, it's based on Indian waterscapes, and so on, right? Um, so how was it for you, as somebody, who studied in India but then has left, and how is it for you appreciating sort of, I guess, Indian biology, but I don't know how else to describe it. But yeah, what do you think about that? Um, yeah, Aranya, since you're talking again.
I especially with the waterscapes chapter, it was really interesting for me because we speak about the river continuum concept in the chapter. And it's something that I was actually learning about in this course during my master's, but I was learning about it from a completely temperate perspective.
Right.
And then I remember talking to Divya and she asked if I'm learning about it and whether they say anything about like the tropics and India. So then I also researched that a bit. So it was really nice to then incorporate what I was also currently studying now in my master's into.
Nice, nice. Yeah, Neeharika, do you want to say something about
uh,
Indian context and illustrating? Yeah.
yeah, I think in all the textbooks that I've read, even like after I think had been published, I think I always think back to how you can always incorporate things from other parts of the world because all the textbooks are very Western world centric, I guess. And even the way we studied undergrad, we used a lot of textbooks that didn't have anything with the Indian context, which we
Yeah.
always got from the professors. But yeah, it's nice to. It's always in the back of my mind now. So
Not from you never got it from the learning resources that were available, but
yeah,
you did from the.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's nice. So I wanted to ask a few more things about illustrations themselves. So, historically, um, illustrations. So I'll use the term illustration specifically now, not art. So they are, in the sciences, they're used, for technicality, right? So you want this, be as accurate as possible so that the reader gets an idea of, say, the structure of whatever thing you're drawing. And you have to try to be accurate in terms of dimensions and all kinds of things, right? Color and so on. So, do you think that having to do these kinds of illustrations still leaves scope for creativity? So, in the sense that you have to be as accurate as possible, um, but then can you still be creative if you're really just trying to replicate what something looks like? What do you
I
think, Aranya?
yeah.
Sorry, Niharika, yeah, go ahead. Get to Aranya afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely it does. There's a lot of room for creativity. I think the one that I um, thought that looked the best in was the rotavirus chapter, because that one you I guess you don't really know, the protein structure of like a virus, but there's no real way to draw it, I guess, unless you're doing like a molecular diagram. And so I
Right.
think that was a interesting way to kind of add some creativity to it, where you can make it look like a virus, but still make it look like art.
I guess also when you're drawing microscopic objects, we
Yeah,
assign color, right? But there's often not really color in the images that we see in, like, say, electron microscope images or something like that. So,
yeah.
yeah. And yeah, what do you think about creativity in illustrations, scientific illustrations?
Yeah, that's an interesting question for me because uh, ever since I've started drawing, like I've always tried to be as realistic as possible. And I think that also comes from my biology background. And I think that like nature itself and the things that we're illustrating itself is like so artistic. So for me, like even just replicating that is very artistic in some sense.
That makes a lot of sense. So, what medium do you tend to use, Aranya, when you're doing biology illustration? So, you can talk about what you did in, I think, biology, but also what you generally like to do when you're illustrating.
So for iThink biology, I used like a drawing tablet and I did it on this software called Krita, which was new for me because I hadn't really played around with that a lot before. So that was also a great learning experience. But I definitely missed like just the freedom of watercolors and color pencils because just the way it flows naturally on paper is really
Yeah.
different. So that's what I
So,
usually do.
what about you, Niharika?
Um, I I stuck to drawing with a pencil and using mainly watercolors, and I also use some acrylic. But yeah, it was much harder, I think, to convert it to a digital format, because you have to scan the drawings and then kind of sometimes I had to colorize them on like on the software. I was using Inkscape, and so
Mhm.
it was a process.
Nice. Uh, but whatever even if it was a hard process, we are very happy that you were part of it because I think that's been, I keep telling people when I'm introducing them to it, I don't know if you like the text, but at least the illustrations will draw you in. So you've done us a big favor by including that. It was especially nice um, having our own students do it. um, is there, just because you're also part of our journey in creating this textbook, because you are, so all five of us co-authors have taught you in some course or the other. So yeah, you're very much part of our journey of thinking about, creating this kind of resource. So what was the response like from your friends or others, batchmates or students from the university? Have you all, any of you, discussed it? Niharika, do you want to start?
Yeah, I think everyone was really excited about it, and uh, I think in general everyone liked that it was an Indian context,
Mhm.
especially I don't want to names. but the textbook that we used for intro bio, I guess we didn't enjoy it particularly, and so
Yeah.
this is a really nice resource. Um, Otherwise, and also like I sometimes I go back to it just to read through some things because it's laid out really well.
Mhm.
And the illustrations, also the ones that Ipsa did, are really beautiful. So yeah.
And come back to Ipsa very soon. Yeah, she deserves a lot of credit. Yeah, Aranya, you want to say what your um,
Yeah, I completely agree with Niharika. And also, I like even when I was just reading it to know what to draw, it wasn't like work. It was a really enjoyable process, and I was learning things.
yeah,
So,
nice. Yeah, we were really trying to make it like narratives so that people are reading, stories, and so it's really like we think of it as a picture book. When you're a little kid and you have a picture book, and so we wanted it to be, that kind of a thing where you're reading a story, but then you also are at the same time building some skills in the process. Um, and of course, I should mention Ipsa Jain, who was who did all of the other illustrations. So she did the main banner page and all of the scientific illustrations throughout the chapters. And it's fantastic because she's also a scientist, so she was able to very quickly grasp, all of the details that we needed in there. So that was really nice. Um, is there anything you wished you had done differently? So when you look back at the banners, are you like, oh, I should have put this there, put something somewhere else, or you're satisfied with the work?
it was
I think
interesting because
Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead, Aranya.
yeah, like while doing it, sometimes we'd have so many versions of the same one. And like, I think, especially with the Western Ghats chapter, I think I was stuck on it, I think, for 3 or 4 months, and I did others during that. And by the end, I was really sick of looking at it. And I didn't
Yeah,
want to see it anymore. But then I came back to it 2 months later and I liked it. So,
yeah, yeah. So the Western Ghats chapter is our sort of. I mean, there's no order in the chapters, but it's our opening chapter. We recommend people read it first, and so it's an essential feature. Yeah, Neeharika, you were about to say something about what you would do differently.
I was kind of saying the same thing, that we spent so much time on each banner, that we kind of, I think, realized that there's so many changes to make always, and so I guess it just don't look back. Don't worry about what's done.
Yeah, the work is always unfinished, I guess, to some point. You both sound like typical artists, actually. So, yeah, was there anything you'd like to add? No.
I just
Okay.
wanted to also add that when I began doing this, it was really great because I was quite sad about having to leave APU, and it was during the whole COVID time. And this was a really great chance for me to stay connected with
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah,
And that's really just helped me transition both into my master's, but also in general on my journey. So,
nice. So, yeah, I mean, the pandemic certainly was an unexpected time, and having our own students do the work was, yeah, I mean, we all knew of your skills and talents, but I think the fact that your work is there kind of, Aranya, you're saying that it continues your link, but actually it becomes a permanent link, right? So long as the the book is online, you are connected to it and connected to the university, actually. So yeah, so very thankful to both of you for participating and having this discussion with me. And like I said, the illustrations have been really a huge draw for readers. And so I really thank you both for participating and look forward to you participating in future chapters as well. Yeah, thanks very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.